I'm Bodo, and this is my heavy assault guide for Planetside 2. I'll be talking about meta-centric loadouts and how to be a very good heavy assault for your team or even in solo play. This guide's going to cover all three factions and CTR and Vanu, since there are differences within the weapons, and I hope this will help you improve your gameplay, and it doesn't matter if you're a new player or a more veteran player. Alright, for weapons for the TR, I recommend the MSWR. The MSWR is a very good weapon, very easy to obtain for 325 certs, and it's one of the most competitive weapons for the TR and Planetside 2. For the NC, the weapon that I recommend is the Gauss Saw. As you can see here in the stats, it's a very good heavy hitting weapon versus the TR and the Vanu. It's a 3-shot headshot. It's very competitive. A lot of people like the Gauss Saw over the God Saw, which is their fancy directive weapon. Highly recommend this weapon. Get good with it. It has a bit of a learning curve, but most weapons do in this game. For the VS, I recommend the Orion. The Orion is the default weapon, default LMG for the Vanu. It's a very good, highly competitive weapon for the LMGs. There is a directive variant that's slight upgrade from this, which is the Beetlejuice, which is the most competitive LMG for the Vanu Heavy Assault. But the Orion is the second best, and it's very, very good in terms of recoil management. Any new player can really use the Orion. For the first part of the loadout, I want to talk about the secondary weapon and the tools, which is your rocket launcher. Now, I do recommend the underboss. Underbosses are really good all around. Secondary, it's something you can pull out in a quick situation, and with the fire rate and the damage it provides, you can easily hip fire someone with 3 shots. Um, Keep in mind, if you aim for the head, it's a 2-shot headshot, but it's very spammable and it's easy to use. It's a very good oh crap weapon. For your tool, rocket launcher, I highly recommend getting used to the decimator. It's jokingly referred to as basically the shotgun, and you can one shot any infantryman with a decimator at range or at close quarters. The nice thing about the decimator too is that it's a very good tool to help take out maxes. One shot you can kind of kill a max that's being taking a lot of damage from your teammates if you're focusing a max. 2 shots at full health if you were just to like 1v1 a max, it takes about 2 shots. If they're running ordnance armor, it takes I believe 3 or 4. Especially if they're running like fire suppression ordnance armor, it could take about 3 to 4 shots to kill a max. In terms of like what type of rocket launcher it is. It's a dumbfire rocket launcher. It's not lock on, so it's very freeing and you can use it sort of anywhere. Versus vehicles, it does require you to aim and calibrate for the drop, because the rocket does have I guess you could say essentially a bullet drop to it. Um, and in terms of fighting ESFs, if they're really dumb and hovering, you can one shot them. In terms of like harassers and sunderers and vanguards, if they're staying still or if you have really good aim and you can kind of lead your shot, you'll do tons of damage to land vehicles. So I highly recommend the decimator. Get it, you won't be sorry. Now to move on to the kind of meat and the potatoes of the loadout, what makes the heavy assault the heavy assault? The ability that the heavy assault have is essentially like a extra shield, an over shield, not to be confused with your own personal shields. This is a additional separate shield. It's the heavy assault ability, and the ability that I recommend is the adrenaline shield. Essentially, whenever you get a kill, no matter if it's a headshot, as long as you get the kill, you're going to get 44% of that energy back. So essentially, how the energy works for this ability: at full energy, you have a shield that can absorb 450 damage. So if someone does 200 damage on you and you get the kill, you're basically going to be healed up back to full. You'll constantly be regaining overshield. Now, this ability can be enhanced by certain implants, and I'm just going to go over that very briefly. The implant assimilate really accentuates this sort of play style of being a heavy, holding down a corridor, stairs, whatever, being an infantryman, and rewarding of getting kills back to back to back. You can be an unstoppable machine. And assimilate will help make adrenaline and the heavy assault even more of a killing machine. Now, on a headshot kill, keep in mind it has to be a headshot kill. you'll restore 200 shields. This is your personal shield. This is not to be confused with your ability. This is just straight personal shield. But on top of that, you'll get 10% of your maximum ability energy. Now, this is what stacks with Adrenaline Shield. So if you get a normal kill for Adrenaline Shield, you're going to get 44% of that energy back. So 44% of, the shield. If you get a headshot kill with that, though, you will also get an additional 10% from a simulate, and you'll get roughly 54% of that energy back. So you'll be gaining back about 225 shield per headshot kill, headshot kill. You only get that addition on a headshot kill. And this is kind of like the general gameplay of the heavy assault that you really want to focus on. It's very rewarding if you can just get headshots because you're going to kill people a lot faster, and you have an implant and an ability that rewards that gameplay of being a headshot shooting machine and just getting kills after kills after kills and just staying in the fight as long as you can. Once you master that, with this implant and this ability, once you master that gameplay of just being very smart and chain killing a lot of people, you'll be a very powerful heavy assault. And that's kind of like the general playstyle of the heavy assault, just to be a wrecking house and be very precise in getting headshots. Now, suit slot, this kind of depends up to you. I really like nail weave armor. And there's also flak armor, which I do recommend, which reduces damage from most nades, C4 at max rank, and a lot of like hash lightnings or MBTs and ESF air to ground missiles. It'll reduce that damage. I find it's very good in bases that enemy vehicles will abuse sort of like the location of the building and hammer in anti-infantry rounds. It's also really good on bases where enemy infantry can spam the living heck out of a point room or your defensive position with nades. So flak armor has its purposes and it's very powerful, but nanoweave is very good versus just weapons in general. If someone shoots at you, if they don't shoot for your head and they shoot at your body, it's a flat 20% reduction. Nanoweave is very, very powerful tool. Now, I recommend using flak armor for a lot of like new players and veteran players that understand when to use it. But with nanoweave, something you can do very cool with nanoweave is that with your tax slot, which you have to unlock with merit, you can get this thing called an ordnance dampener. Now, the ordnance dampener is this little device you put on the ground, and you can put it in pretty much every single building. And what it will do is that it gives you essentially rank 1 of flak armor. And rank 1 of flak armor is where most of the damage that you will absorb that will actually benefit you from flak armor, most of the damage is going to come from rank 1, and that's common explosions and frag grenades. You're going to reduce that damage by 50%. So even though you have nanoweave and you're reducing damage from actual bullets, you place this down in an AoE for you and your squad, you'll also reduce common explosions and nades by 50%, which is very, very good. This combo, just like the Adrenaline Shield and the Assimilate, it's a very powerful combo, especially in a point holding meta, and basically redeploy side. Being able to cover multiple bases and being able to cover a lot of different variations of what you may be exposed to in combat is very, very important. Now, for your concussion grenades, I recommend using the concussion grenade. I call it concussion grenades. I recommend it's a very good utility nade. It essentially disorientates your target, so you throw it in a room, goes off, and people have a reduced movement speed with their mouse, like aiming their mouse and moving their mouse around. You have massive reduced in movement speed there, and you also have a massive reduced movement speed of their WASD keys. They can't move around at all, so they can't turn, they can't look away, they can't move, get it to cover. They're basically a turtle. And will help you breach rooms, or you can even use this defensively. I prefer it to like breach a room and get a bit of an advantage. The thing with nades is that everybody starts off with frag grenades. And frag grenades are equally as good, especially if you know how to like bounce them off walls and ricochet them. Frag grenades can be very, very powerful. I just personally recommend if you want to be like very competitive and very like team oriented, concussion grenades can do a lot for you in terms of um, entering a building, entering a room, more so than frag grenades, because people can move away from a frag grenade. They can take cover. They can play it right. If they have flak armor, or they have the ordnance dampener, it will reduce the damage. But with concussion grenade, it doesn't do any damage to them. It just disorients them and makes them so they can't even react to you. And that's why concussion grenade is like a very good meta pick for a lot of people. Now for utility, this does come down to the player and the group you're running with. In Orax, we have a pretty tight knit group. Our medics are pretty responsible medics, and we trust them to heal us and revive us, but to also be sort of like the second man at a stairwell or a doorway. So if we go down and someone's pushing, they're good to take out that person that's trying to push them that took down their heavy assault, and they'll res them, heal them up, whatever. We have some very good medics, so we like to run C4, and C4, if you can get away with this in your squad or your team, C4 is a very good tool for heavy assaults, because you're going to be that first guy at the doorway, first guy at the stairwell. You're going to be the guy that's like the first man on the site to defend or to enter a room. And C4 is a great utility to either counter max rushes or massive Zerg rushes. Throughout a C4, you can take out 6 to 8 people very easily. You can kill a max instantly, especially if they're not running ordnance armor, which most maxes don't. And a nice thing too about this is that you're adding another tool to your team. That's like, if I see something, I can react to it quickly, and we can even the odds essentially. C4 is very, very good, and I recommend a lot of people to get good with C4 and throwing it around corners and things like that. But really, this only works if you have the medics to support you. If you don't have the medics to support you, you can still run C4. But I recommend using medkits. If you're playing more solo, if you're going to play very loose and away from the team and you want to flank, I recommend medkits. You can be more of a one-man army, heal yourself out, get back into the fight. Medkits, I recommend it for all new players anyway, just as a little crutch. Even if you're working a team, you're a newer player, you're probably not going to be able to position that well, or you're going to take a lot of damage that you probably shouldn't have taken. Medkits will save your butt and probably stop your medics from, sweating with their brow. So medkits is very good. But eventually you want to get to the point where you can be comfortable using C4 as a heavy. And that's a little bit more of a meta choice too, is using C4 as a heavy. Now, over all of this, you kind of have a bit of choices. You can change, fray, concussion, medkit, C4, nano weave, flak armor. It's up to you. This kind of general loadout that you see right here is a little bit more like sweaty meta-ish. So if you really want like to invest your certs and invest your time into like understanding a loadout, learning a loadout, being as effective heavy for a squad as possible, this is a very good loadout for you. This second implant, this is kind of up to you. I recommend Safeguard, and a lot of people would say, oh, Safeguard's for new players, and Safeguard is for if you really don't know the game, you're not really that comfortable. That's a complete lie. Safeguard is a very powerful implant, especially if you're point holding. When there's going to be situations where you're going to be point holding with your group, or you're going to be defending something with your group, and you're going to have a enemy squad come in and try to like Zerg push you. Well, in a lot of fights, it can be stagnant, or it can literally turn into a res ball where you're defending, enemy squad comes in, they come in, annihilate the first 6 people, medic throws out a res nade, boom, those 6 people that were down to fight get back up, but now they have an advantage. And upon being rezzed, you'll receive a 20% damage reduction for 3.5 seconds, which is quite a bit, and that does stack with Nano Weave. Insta restore 200 shield health as infantry. Now, essentially, when you get res, you're like 75% back to being completely full. You're ready to go. Um, Actually, no, I think it's about like 65% effective EHP for Safeguard. It's a very powerful tool to help stay in a fight, especially if like someone gets a very lucky C4 and takes out 4 of your guys. This implant will allow them to take that res in a very hot location and have an advantage in terms of coming back as a fresh spawn and shooting people if you already have the aim advantage on them. With this implant alone, with the tracking software, I've had nights where 10 seconds, like in a 10-second span after being res, and this is an actual stat that we track, I've gotten 15 kills. So in 10-second time frame of after me being res with this safeguard, I was able to chain kill 15 kills. I got very good C4 off, and I just sprayed down 5 or 6 people with headshots. You can do a lot with Safeguard. It's not underrated. I stress people to use this, especially if you're in a team. Now, there's other very good implants that you can use too. There's regeneration, and regeneration obviously pairs well with C4. You know, you're going to get passive healing on headshot kills. You're going to get more health regeneration. I mean, it's very good. I know there's people that like using it, especially if they're using C4 on their heavy assault. I really don't recommend it. There's better things you can use, like Safeguard. Another good implant that you can use is Survivalist. Survivalist reduces your passive shield recharge delay by 1 second. And whenever your shield breaks, you get a bit of a movement speed for 6 seconds. It's a 20% increase, but you will lose that movement speed bonus if you take any damage after your shield depletes. So if someone shoots out your shields and they do like 1 damage of your health, you'll lose that movement speed bonus. So how come this is a pretty good implant? What you still keep of that is the 150 health regeneration over 6 seconds. So even if you lose that movement speed bonus, you're still getting 150 health over 6 seconds to heal you and keep you in the fight. This is used to be super OP, a very good implant back in the day. Now that you're not guaranteed that 20% movement speed, it's kind of like a pretty good all right implant still. So thank you for watching my Hey Assault video. If you like it, you want to support me, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, tell me what you think. In terms of playing Planetside and continue to grow, it's going to take time. You can't just learn it one day. You're going to have to get used to terms of reaction time, mouse settings, general gameplay knowledge, things like that. Planetside 2 is a very big game, and it takes a while to even master a specific class, let alone field, if it's infantry, air, armor, etc., platoon leading. There's so much to this game. If you want more topics, more guides, if you really enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys would like to see. I'm going to start doing most of the classes that I can, and then start moving on to like general Planetside 2 knowledge. Kind of make a big playbook for a lot of new players or advanced players to learn new things about the game. So you guys have a nice day, and hopefully I see you on Planetside on the under end of my barrel.